mentioned, speaking about WordPress in Africa, he's leaving for London soon, so please give him a Cape Town welcome that he'll remember for a long time. Joel Bronkowski.
Thanks, guys. So as they mentioned, the title of my talk today is WordPress in Africa, Voices and Insights from a Growing Community. That's my what is it called? My handle, there we go. Joel Bronkowski. I head up business development for Woo. As you guys know, we were acquired by Automatic, so that's wonderful. And then that domain there at the bottom is my wife and I's travel blog that we started a couple weeks ago. So have a look at that. It is called 2 Cats at Mom's because we left our 2 cats at my mother-in-law's house. It's now down to 1 cat though. Tough note to start on. So you might be wondering well, you guys already kind of covered this, but why is this American guy talking about Africa? Well, I left my home in Los Angeles in 2007, headed on a little African adventure to the very dark, challenging world of Cape Town. So I've been here for 8 years. I did a little research into what's happening in Nigeria and Kenya, just to get a feel for what might be driving some of that growth. Because on WooThemes.com itself, we actually have not gone out of our way to do much there. It's challenging with the US being such a large market, and there just being so many other things that we can focus on. It sometimes is hard to look at these smaller markets, but I really enjoy it. And I came across these 2 kind of unsung heroes in Nigeria who have built out all these unique plugins for WordPress. This is one that adds all the Nigerian states to shipping options. There's one that brings in a bunch of different payment gateways for Nigeria. This is one for Kenya. What is that? PaySapal, yeah, so that's the mobile payments, pretty popular platform. And I actually set up a call with how do you say his name? Tondisolon, or I can't say, I'm probably saying it wrong, but we had trouble with the connection, of course. Who knows if it was South Africa or Nigeria, but I ended up calling his phone and having a good chat with him, and it was just cool to hear that he just decided for WooCommerce to be functional in Nigeria and for him to be a developer in Lagos, he decided to build these things, and he has gotten some business from that. Like, companies are acknowledging him as one of the leading developers there, and he's launched a WordPress meetup last year where he said they had 40 people in attendance. He's really trying to get to WordCamp USA this year, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, it was great to connect with him. I also saw that he wrote a few blog posts on Twerk magazine just about WordPress in Nigeria, and I thought that was really interesting. So you guys can have a look at that. I'll post my slides later. I had a really interesting Twitter conversation with another Nigerian developer who I asked him, what is the climate, or not climate, I guess, hold on, let's just see exactly what I asked him here. Basically asked him about the community in Nigeria, and he had quite a bit of a critique for us, but I think it's important that I read it. I basically just said, I'm looking for your thoughts on WooCommerce in Nigeria. Do you see much growth in WordPress and WooCommerce? What made you pursue building free plugins? Do you see any kind of future WordPress community taking shape? How can the South African WordPress community or WooThemes help developers like yourself? And he wrote, just skipping a little bit ahead, working from one of the foremost startup co-working spaces here in Nigeria, I've observed that 90% of all websites and web apps I've had to look at and probably support are actually WordPress websites, and they all usually go with WooCommerce if they have a need for e-commerce. One of the reasons I went on to deploy and add a free plugin to the WordPress repository was to address a repeated challenge people using locals using WordPress and WooCommerce faced, which no one from the international community was looking at or would even notice. I have, to a good extent, also registered my competence with WordPress by writing a free plugin. It has helped me identify me as a WordPress and WooCommerce expert. Yes, there's huge potential for WordPress in Nigeria because on a daily basis, there's a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses waking up and seeing the importance of a holistic web presence, which WordPress brings with little stress. The WordPress WooCommerce developer community in Nigeria exists, but we are always working in silos due to the lack of proper collaborative channels and events. Unlike the WordPress developer community in the US, and I presume South Africa, ours is not warm. My suggestion is this: WordPress WooCommerce make a move to actively acknowledge and recognize our developer community as part of the global WordPress or WooCommerce developer community. Sometimes it feels like we are not noticed or do not matter as much. So it makes our devs just sit and observe as amazing WordPress events such as WordCamps happen in other parts of the world. What you should do is extend a handshake to make to our devs in Nigeria and make them feel like family. So a pretty somewhat harsh critique, but I appreciate it, you know? In some way I think and this was like the last 2 days, me sending a few tweets and getting this kind of feedback. I think if we are passionate about seeing kind of a change in Africa and encouraging these guys, we could reach out and do a little bit more. So I would encourage you guys to take that up. I thought it was pretty interesting.